Continuing on with the story about my job history and everything. So now we're looking at early 2000. I've been out of the Army for around 7 months at this point, and I'm trying to figure out what my options are. And I get this idea in my head that if I move to Texas, it might be able to improve my chances of getting back into the military. Now, the reason I was thinking this is because San Antonio, Texas is home to Fort Sam Houston. Fort Sam Houston is headquarters for the U.S. Army Medical Command. My plan was if any doctors out there that are in charge of making decisions on who's able to re-enlist or not, those doctors are probably going to be located there at Fort Sam Houston. So by moving to San Antonio, I'm going to be right there within driving distance to be able to go and visit these doctors on the Army post and do, jump and go through hoops, do whatever I have to do to show them that I'm physically fit to return to service. I'm starting to talk, before I move, I start talking with a couple buddies of mine that are stationed at like Fort Hood, or one guy that I did know that was already at Fort Sam Houston. He was one of our old medics. So I started deciding that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move to San Antonio. Never been there before. I've been to other parts of Texas, but never to San Antonio. Big city, sound like it'd be kind of interesting. I start chatting with some girl online. We get into a bit of a relationship enough to where like, all right, I'll move over there and, we'll hook up. So I start making the trip. I've got a Ford Bronco 2. I load it with all my stuff, and I start driving from Southern Oregon, drive down through LA, visit my family and everything down there, and then I make the long trek over to San Antonio. When I get to Texas, I start living with this girl and her parents. She was currently going to college, finishing up her degree in communications, and I'm starting to talk to friends there and try and figure out, like, what are my options? I know I'm going to have to get a job doing something because it could be a while before I'm able to try and get back in the military. And I start talking to different people with different companies and agencies, and I'm getting some good foothold, but I could see that it's going to take a while to go through all the paperwork. So I start working retail. Never done it before, but it was something that paid the bills. And after a short period of time, I get hired with a company as a security consultant. I'm not going to be naming any company names because of NDAs and all that kind of stuff, but contract work back then was not the same as it is now. But I get hired doing work as a security consultant. Paid real well, decent company, decent employees there. And I'm just starting to do that kind of work for a while. One of my friends suggests that I go and file a claim with the VA because, I had tinnitus ringing in my ears because, I'd been working around in field artillery a lot. During training, there are periods where you don't wear your earplugs. So I filed a claim with the VA for my legs because his saying was, go file a claim on your legs because that way they'll be able to get you in to start doing physical therapy to get you ready to go back in the military. Also do a claim for the tinnitus in your ears because they might be able to figure something out with that. I filed a claim at the VA, and then I forget about it. So I'm working there for a couple years doing, it's only about like a year and a half. I'm doing different work with different security contracts, and things don't go so well with my girlfriend at the time. She wanted to move back in with her parents. She had graduated from college, and she's starting to work at a call center, so not the best job. My family at this time, they're messaging me again, hey, we got some problems, can you come help us out? And as much as I was enjoying things there, it wasn't going the way I had hoped. I'm driving over there, I'm going through physicals, I'm seeing doctors, I'm going through MEPS, the physicals and everything. And all the doctors are basically telling me that you look like you're able to perform the duties, but the thing is, it's too recent. It's been too short a time from the time you were injured. We don't think it would have healed properly by now. There's too many risks for problems reoccurring. So we're just going to have you wait a little bit longer. So I could see nowhere was, I wasn't getting anywhere down there. My family's asking for help. I'm just in the process of breaking up with that girlfriend. Towards the middle of 2001, I think it was July. So like July of 2001, I moved back to Southern Oregon. A few weeks later, my girlfriend calls me up and says, hey, you got a letter in the mail from the VA along with a check for like $7,000. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? So she sends me the letter. Sure enough, a year later, the VA had given me a 30% rating for my legs. They denied tinnitus and some other stuff, but I got a 30% rating for my legs, which was going to pay like $325 a month, which I'm like, okay. And that $7,000 was essentially back pay for since I got out. But I didn't really know what VA benefits were, how any of that part of it worked. As long as it wasn't going to have a negative effect on me re-enlisting, I didn't care about it. So I didn't even think about it. I just, figured that's just another $300 coming into my bank every month. No big deal. I wasn't going to any VA facilities for treatments or anything like that. So I go back and, this is in August that I get the letter and the notice, everything from the VA. And then a month later, September. So September 11, 2001, we all know what happened there. It didn't take long before a lot of us start realizing that something's going down. There's going to be a big influx of enlistments and deployments. We're going to war or something. So I felt, okay, this is my time to get back in. They're not going to be able to keep denying me after this. They need people. Instead of bringing in new recruits that might not even pass their training, you got the guys that are recently out that still have the training, still have the skills. They might have to do a refresher, but they can just come right back and go to your unit and do whatever they got to do. That was my hope. That's not what happened. So for over the next decade, I would continue the battle of trying to re-enlist. I never wanted to get out of the military. That was supposed to be my career, especially serving in the infantry, working my way up to a ranger unit. That was my dream. I wasn't ready to give up on that. So from this point on, my main focus is all driven on re-enlisting. I'll go into a recruiter, set everything down, make sure that they're on the level, and I just start to do my paperwork, do whatever I got to do to get back in. And that's where my focus is. I'm focused on getting back in. Now I know I'm going to have to do some work. I got to do jobs so I have an income, but I don't really care what the job is. As long as it's not some minimum wage, meaningless job, I don't care. As long as it's a paycheck. I didn't want to take jobs that were, really lengthy contract periods or required a whole lot of commitment, because the recruiters are saying, hey, we're going to be able to get you back in, and it just might take a few months. And this would go on and on and on. So I would start working at a company, doing everything from tech support. I did Intel tech support. I did cell phone sales, security work. I think for like 3 weeks or almost a month, I was pumping gas at a gas station. Just whatever jobs I could find that would be a paycheck, basically. I was getting a lot of options for advancement opportunities. At one point in 2007, I took a job with the city police department. I enjoyed that job a lot, but there were concerns of getting too far into it, getting too committed into it, because I didn't want to be too far committed into a job and then turn around and be like, sorry guys, I'm leaving. I'm shipping out for, active duty here in a week. But that was my focus, is just go to recruiters, recruiters, recruiters. I'm getting all kinds of good job offers, position increase offers, and I'm like, I got to decline. It's not something I'm interested in. A lot of people, they couldn't understand it, but you didn't really want to tell them the truth, because if your boss says, hey, we're thinking about promoting you, we're going to move you into management, you're going to move over to this city. And I'm like thinking to myself, this recruiter just said I'm going to be shipping out here in like 4 months. I'm not going to go through the whole process of moving to another city and everything, taking up a new management job. And by the time I really get started in that job, just got to tell that company, sorry, I'm leaving. That's not going to look good on your record. You're going to be kind of an asshole. So I declined so many of those offers. Good thing with contract work is the contract is for a set period of time. Usually you might do a contract for like 6 months. So you figure, you do your contract, and while the contract's going, you're having your recruiter back home deal with the paperwork. By the time your contract ends, you can start sitting down again with your recruiter, see if there's any progress made, and just keep trying it from there. But that was the big thing. I wasn't taking any good, high-paying jobs with a strong career option, because my whole focus was getting back in the military. A lot of these jobs that I was doing, I was making good money, but I wasn't saving it. Now, because a lot of the abuses that I had dealt with in the military, and also just the depression and the disappointment of being forced out of the military, of having to deal with the pain in my legs and these problems, not being able to get back in the military, feeling like I was that unwanted, I was good at my job, so why am I not allowed back in? I'm seeing fat motherfuckers that are able to get through, not just a recruiter, but they're going to training, they're passing their training, and they're getting combat deployed. And these are guys that physically or mentally should never have even made it past the recruiting point. But I'm seeing all this kind of stuff go through, and yet I can't get back in. I'm seeing pictures that buddies of mine are taking while they're on deployment of guys that are wearing like 4 extra large uniforms. They shouldn't even make uniforms that big. All right. Now, if you're like one of these big, huge, muscle-bound, like ogre dudes, all right, special purpose. You got to go in and do a uniform for them. But to have a uniform on standard for a guy that weighs 600 fucking pounds, one, that guy shouldn't be in the military. He should have been booted out long before then. And two, even if for some whatever reason the guy is still allowed to serve, he should not be on a combat deployment. But I'm seeing this constantly all the time. It was just a big headache. But for me, I'm having nightmares. I'm not sleeping much. On average, 2 to 3 hours a night of sleep. Just not really going well. So I'm blowing a lot of my money from work on things to take my mind off of all of this. Anybody that's got their pilot license knows that's not cheap. I was constantly going out, and for years I was a student pilot. I wasn't focused on getting my pilot license. It was just I wanted to have fun and enjoy flying. So there'd be times where with my CFI we would go up, and initially you might be like, we're going to practice doing track around this or practicing maneuvers. But by the time you get up, you're like, yeah, I'm not really feeling for that. How about we just, go fly out over here, practice some of them skills, but we'll go over here, we'll have lunch in this other city, and then we'll fly around, and, I was just enjoying it. CFI, he's getting paid, so he doesn't matter what I do. If I want to take 3, 4, 5 months to get my license, he don't care. Skydiving, when you're talking about like $138 a jump back then, and you might pull off over a 3-day weekend, 6, 7, 8 jumps maybe, depending on how many people are out there and what the weather's like. That stuff builds up. I was purchasing multiple firearms, military style firearms with military ammunition. It's not cheap. Going out to the range. Eventually I financed a Lexus LX 470 So it's the nicer luxury Lexus big SUV. That wasn't cheap. Even though I had good insurance, I mean, it's still, all that stuff's expensive. For my apartment, I'm getting all the expensive appliances and furniture and all the high-end stuff, things that were expensive, but they increase your comfort level, and it's something I'm taking care of. I knew it was going to last me a long time, but I'm blowing a lot of my money. I'm keeping a little bit in savings, but not more than a few $1,000s, because it's just, I'm constantly going out. I'm taking trips and vacations. I'm traveling to different countries. I'm just doing a lot of things to spend a lot of that money so that I'm not having to deal with personal problems. So those are some of those big mistakes that I was making. One, I'm getting a lot of opportunities for good careers, promotions, and I'm not taking it because I'm just focused on getting back into the military. I'm just listening to recruiters, and when a recruiter says, hey, don't worry, we'll get you back in 3 or 4 months, and then 9 months have passed and I still haven't gotten anywhere, I'm so desperate to get back in, I'm just sticking with it and keep on going. And I'm not taking up any of these other offers. When I am getting good paying jobs, I'm not setting that money aside to build a house or just outright pay for my car or anything like that. I'm basically blowing it on entertainment. And a lot of that would come back to bite me later on. So, at the time, I'm doing okay. I'm able to live a good life, but financially, I'm not securing my future, because in my mind, my future is the military. I don't have to worry about it. This would go on and on and on. And essentially what happens is, in around 2013, the company that I was doing contract with, they aren't getting any contracts anymore. They are starting to get a bad reputation. They've got a lot of reports of like negligent discharges, being too aggressive with people. So they're not going to be getting work for a while. So I start figuring out I'm going to have to just go and get a normal job. And I go to our unemployment office. We have a vet rep who's a veteran himself, and he only deals with veterans. Start talking with him about what are my job possibilities. And essentially what it comes down to is, if you don't have a college degree, you're going to be flipping burgers or working at Walmart. So I'm kind of freaking out. When I got out of the Army, I had a GI Bill, but I didn't use it because I thought I was getting back into the military. I didn't see the purpose of going and starting school and then 1 term in leaving to go serve in the military again. I just didn't see the point in doing that. So I never used my GI Bill. It eventually expired. So I didn't have a college degree. I have a lot of work history, a lot of good experience, a lot of good skills, but nothing on paper to back it up. So he mentions to me, have you heard of the Voc Rehab program? And I'm like, no, I don't know what that is. He's like, well, the VA will send you to school similar to a GI Bill. They'll pay for your tuition fees and everything, and they'll even give you a little bit of money every month to help you cover some of your bills. And I'm starting to like, okay, how much money are we talking about? I mean, if I'm going to be going to school full time, I'm not going to be able to work. How am I going to cover my expenses? And he's like, well, it's easy. You're going to get like a $600 a month stipend from the VA, but you can also apply for your FAFSA. It's that free application for federal student aid. Essentially, the government will give you grants and student loans. And you don't have to pay the loans back until you've graduated and you're starting a new job. And I'm like thinking to myself, well, I don't intend to graduate with this because I'm going to be shipping out in the military. But he's talking about showing me the numbers of how much I would qualify for. And I would be making as much or even a little bit more money going to school than I would working at any of the other jobs around town. So I was like, all right, I'll do it. I'll try it. For me, it's an income for the next few months, however long it takes for me to get re-enlisted. Again, this is in 2013, and I've been doing this, trying to re-enlist now for like 13 years. So I'm getting stressed out. I'm like, they've got to do it soon. I mean, I'm ready to go, but I pretty much start going through the whole process of having to apply for the Voc Rehab. Voc Rehab system is completely different than a GI Bill. And I guess I'll start working on that discussion in the next video.